nature. We're not like separate. Like we're part of it. And so we're going to feel whatever the environment is telling us to feel, we're going to feel.
Yeah.
And we're taught like you got to override that. It's like,
No,
what
but
if I don't want to?
low key, like now that I have kids, like everything we do for a kid, like up until like my oldest is only 4, but everything we do for a kid is literally the blueprint of just how we should do shit our whole life. But at some point, we're like, let's pull back the reins a little bit. Like my daughter's got to sit in a car seat with some shit really strapped on her, but it's like, if I sat with all that shit strapped on me too, I'd be a lot safer than just the seatbelt like across me, like, but someone was like, nah, you could kind of pull back the reins a little bit because you're older. Like, but if I had the shit that she had, I'd probably not die if I got into a crash, more likely than she wouldn't if we got into a crash. And that goes with naps, that goes with eating vegetables, that goes to like reading books and like doing all the shit that kids do. Literally, we stop doing it as we get older. It's because people are just like, nah, you don't gotta do that shit. Like, you don't have to read anymore. What the fuck? What are you, like, stupid? And then like, clearly when you get older, people are like, the more you read, the more smarter you are. So like, it's the same shit with everything else they do. So kind of like, I'm on board with naps because it's like kids are doing it. So old people do that shit and they live longer too. And they they know what the fuck is up.
Yeah, when you look at, it's an interesting point. Like, take what the kids do and just extrapolate it, because when you watch a young kid and how they spend their day, it is like a lot of it, when they're not in school, of course, a lot of it is like they're just playing, like they're just finding ways to entertain themselves and get themselves interested in shit. And it's like, well, yeah, as you get older, it's not going to be the same kind of play. Like, you're not going to sit there playing with fucking like Barbies and Legos and shit, but yeah, like if you had the ability to explore stuff and learn about stuff as much as they do when you're older, yeah, that's gonna have positive effects. But what they try to do in this country and in most countries is just like force you to be productive for society in a very narrow and limited sense. Like the whole division of labor thing. In some ways, it's necessary. Like you got to get good at one shit. You got to get really good at. But there's a whole kind of person, like a creative type person, like an artistic type person, that they can't do it. They don't want to do that. Their whole shit is like, I want to do a zillion things, Like I'm fortunate in the sense that I'm more of an obsessive type personality when I'm into something. So I could just be like, you want me to do this for like 5 years straight? Okay. Like I could do that because I'm just that type of person.
But you also do what makes you happy too.
True. And if I wasn't doing what makes me happy and I had to do the same shit for 5 years straight, I'd be like, this is fucking miserable. But a lot of people find themselves in that situation where they might have my type of personality, but they're not doing the thing that they like, so it drives them crazy. Or they might be the kind of person who's so creative and artistic that they want to do 1,000 different things, but they can't because they got to do one shit.
Exactly.
And it's like we've just set up a society where it's like everybody's going to be fucking miserable. Yeah. And then when you look at that, very few people go back to the root of it and say like, well, maybe the reason why you're miserable is because you fucking should be because of how this shit works. And like, maybe we need to change it from like the bottom up type shit. Yep. Nobody's allowed to say that. So they just, here, take a pill,
Yeah, no, you're right. Like when you're a kid, you're doing shit that makes you happy. But at some point you start doing shit to make other people happy, whether that, so it's like you don't enjoy doing things anymore because it's all to like make your boss happy or to make your company happy or your job happy. When in reality, everybody now is like, let me do some shit that makes me happy, which going back to the same shit is like what kids do, and it's like, why you enjoy what you do because it makes you happy. A lot of people aren't happy because they're doing some shit that is for someone else,
Yeah.
So that's why everybody's got to fucking open up their own hibachi drive-through shits.
I think one of the reasons why the play happens too, if you look at it like from a pragmatic perspective, is that they're trying to like hone in skills and abilities for the future too. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're playing with all these different things and trying to find shit that you're interested in that you can then sort of carry on into the future. That might be one of the things. It's interesting watching kids learn about and develop social skills because when they're really young, they just don't have any abilities that you and I take for granted. Like one of the things is like when somebody's talking, kids will just OD cut somebody off or try to shout over somebody and just like you'll be in the middle of a conversation and mom,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, we're gonna have to work on this. like you didn't get, like, you got to understand like social cues and understand how to, it's almost like in some ways you want that, like, your job is sort of to rein them in from having too much fun and getting too wild. It's like, okay, reel it in a little bit, reel it in a little bit. Like, you could be happy, you could have fun, but you can't just punch Timmy in the face.
Yep.
Like, even though you felt the urge to punch Timmy in the face and then laugh about it, like, you can't do that.
Can't do that shit.
Can't do that.
Unless Timmy's a dick.
In which case, send Timmy to the gulag.
Wait, I gotta.